If you can hear us, please. Yep, Noaksy's there, Gary's there. Good to hear. Guys, firstly, welcome to tonight's webinar. We've got a huge show lined up tonight. It's really big, and we've actually today we run the electrical skills assessments from our London venue, and we've actually ransacked one of the guys, and we've said stick around and talk to us a little bit about as a client, as an electrician, of how you went, what you did, what you need to know, how it can help. So we'll bring Dave on shortly, but he's added to the added to the list. This is my co-host Mo. Mo, how you going?
Yeah, really good. Thanks. How are you?
Good. We're sort of sharing the mic because everyone kept whinging that they couldn't hear us properly. So we're doing it this way. Guys, so tonight we're going to speak to Mo about teaching jobs. We've also got an employer from Western Australia. For those who attended last webinar, we're probably the best feedback we've ever had from clients was how well Michael spoke and how he was able to answer questions. Michael's going to also be joining us in 25 days here from the Down Under Centre to recruit all the people he's looking for. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got the amazing Talia from Australian Nursing Agency. And we've got Alex from Bupa, Will from Global Reach, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about trade packs and what we do. But today's a little bit different. Normally we start off with a song, Mo. We do. Yeah. Now I'm not sure if, because I've changed the slides here, let's just check something out. All right, so that's Mo there. That's me, yeah. That's Mo. But really, Mo, what's today about?
Yeah, 21. Where?
21. So
yeah, 21.
It's Mo's birthday today. Guys, Mo's a star, and she's helped so many teachers get out there. So usually she sings us a song. No. So tonight she's going to sing herself a song. I'm not going to sing it. And I'll do the hip hip hoorays. Do you want to? Can you do happy birthday? Happy birthday to me, Australian style from Mo. Coming here.
Happy birthday to you. Me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear me. Happy birthday to me.
Hip hip. Say hooray. Hip hip.
Yay.
No, good on ya. Good on ya. Sort of hid that away. That's why when I turned it on, they were all scheduled in. Yeah, see, that's present. And Dave bought you donuts as well. So, guys, so for those who, if it's your first webinar, just welcome. Again, today was a little special moment. Mo's 21, so it's happy. Actually, Ayla was 21 on Friday, and she was actually 21 on Friday. Close enough too. So, guys, if it's your first webinar, just welcome. What we like to do, the Down Under Centre, you may have seen us at expos, our own seminars, but we've run 115 webinars now. We do the first Tuesday of every month, and we also host them for New Zealand on the third Tuesday of every month. But I'd say we've probably done about 70 at least webinars. So what we try to do is engage with people. This isn't a selling experience. This is a trying to find employers, trying to ask questions, answer questions that you guys have. So at the end, if you've got questions, if you think, get these out eventually. If you have questions that you want answered, please ask away so our team can work in the background during the month and then try and find these answers. So what would firstly like to do, we've got 70 odd people joining us tonight, and the numbers will grow. If you didn't mind telling us a little bit about yourselves, maybe your occupation, if you have a visa, and then from there we'll get a little bit. So don't be shy, and you can see people down the bottom. They're all typing away. You'll see some of our professionals will have their names and everything like that, the experts in there. Guys, if you don't ask questions, we can't really respond. Now, what will happen at the end of the webinar, you'll all get an email with the people who attended, so you can contact them directly. So if you don't feel, don't be upset if you missed out and you didn't get your question answered, because it 100% will. Would you like to add anything to that?
One thing that's really useful is to utilize the other participants in the chat, because everybody's going through their own migration journey, and quite a lot of people, are already into the visa process, so they could offer a bit of advice too. So if you have a question, it might readily be answered by someone who's a participant who's watching the webinar tonight. It's a good place to maybe, connect with people who are also going through this journey of migrating themselves.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, guys, what I'm going to do, Dave, are you ready, mate? All right, guys, I will bring Dave into the room just quickly. You can sit where the birthday girl sat. Firstly, guys, so this wasn't planned. David sat his electrical skills assessment today from the Down Under Centre, and we're having a bit of a chat running through the GAP training, and you've listened to a few webinars, mate?
Yeah, I've listened to quite a few. That was actually how I started to engage with you as a company, and back in September last year was the first webinar I watched.
Cool. So so tonight, all we sort of thought, well, we'll just ask you a few questions, and if you wouldn't mind just running through a little bit. So before you sat the skills assessment, how did you feel, mate?
I've got my notes to refer to here, Wes. I've just written them up. As you can see, it's blank, so I'll have to look off the cuff.
Yeah, off the cuff, mate. That's how we roll. Just
that's probably a good question, actually. Yeah.
Just speak, mate, how it is. There's only a few people on here, mate, and the main thing is you're a client. You've come in today to do a skills assessment, and I think the pure something can ever be whenever you interview someone is just let it rip, mate.
Yeah.
Tell us how you feel, buddy.
Yeah. So before I sat the skills assessment today, I'm an electrician. So I was concerned that there might be things to trick me or answers to. I wouldn't have the answers to the questions because there's a theory part and then there's 3 practical assessments. But I think as long as you are what you say you are, an electrician in this case, or a plumber, or whatever trade you might be, the questions are pretty simple and straightforward.
So what were the questions, mate? What is the what was the practical and the theory like?
So the practical, there's 3 practicals. One is wire up a motor and stop button and configure that. And then there was a domestic installation to just wire the sockets and lights and things. Pretty simple, basic stuff. And then there was a bit of fault finding on another board. Again, if you're an electrician, it was just obvious. It was so obvious, that there was problems there, and you can just point them out and write it up, and it was really simple.
Whose fault was it, mate? You said you were finding faults. Whose fault was it? Was it your fault, or was it the Down Under Centre's fault? Whose fault was it, mate? Who's to blame?
I think a plumber's had the fingers in there, actually tried to bond a gas pipe that wasn't right. So it might be you, is it, right?
Yeah, it might be, mate. Duct tape fixes everything for those who have a problem. Just a bit of duct tape on it. All right. So, okay. So you went through it. How did you find the assessor?
That was the main positive for me. I think was the assessor was Jim, and he was absolutely brilliant. Straight away, we were at ease, and after a sleepless night the night before, wondering what it's going to all be about. And a lot of things hinge on this moment. If you don't pass this, you've got to fork out the money again. And it was just so relaxed atmosphere. So Jim was really good.
Yeah, he's good. And he sports the same haircut as you, Jim.
Yeah. It was quite difficult because the light was bouncing off both our heads and other people couldn't really see in the room.
But he's actually installed more lights, which I found quite weird. That's true. He actually installed more lights. Yeah. Okay, fine. So, you've come through, you started. I mean, what time did you get here in the morning, mate?
It's supposed to start at 8 o'clock. So, the email that Will sent out was get there, 15 minutes early to get settled and things. I was actually here before everybody else and Jim. Bit of an eager beaver, I think, but I just didn't want to be late for it, So I rocked up about 7:30.
Yep. And what time did you finish, mate?
There was 3 of us in the class, so I think we finished a bit earlier than usual, but it was around about 2, 3 o'clock. Everything was all done and dusted, and Jim gave us a good indication. He can't tell us that we've passed because it's still got to go off to Australia and get marked by 2 other bodies, but he gave us a good indication of how we all did on the day.
Yeah, good stuff. Now, would there be what advice would you give for people that are doing, that are out there? Obviously, the DUC clients that are our clients going to the DUC Club, our private Facebook group. And firstly, you've been quite spoken about that as well, and you've been helping people through and all that. And I hope you continue to do that. But apart from the DUC Club, was there anything else that helped you prepare for today's assessment?
Well, first of all, on that note, I would recommend that not to read or take with a pinch of salt anything that any other social media, platform suggests, because it's just all hearsay and there's no professionals there, guys. So there might be a few, but amongst all the comments, things can be misconstrued. And I mean, you need to go to the horse's mouth, which is the Down Under Centre, in my opinion.
Yeah, geez. I mean, I guess it's tough. I mean, we get asked a lot in social media how we help, and you've got some really good Facebook groups out there. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's staying more up to date with it. And if you are that trade, this goes to to all our clients through skills assessments. We're not there to catch you out. We're not there to say, oh, you can't get through. We're not those when it's not that sort of people. The idea is you come in prepared, you come in relaxed, and perfect preparation leads you to a good result. And I found the guys who sat it today, I think it was about 2:30 when you started knocking on my door, going, all right, let's start chatting about the gap training, which is obviously the next step moving forward. So, just finish off, mate, for us, because what sort of advice would you give people to prepare any skills assessment? What would you say, mate?
Well, the Down Under Centre sent quite a lot of literature through to set you up ready for the day. Read up on the subjects that are covered in that, really. What do you think of anything else to suggest?
All right, no worries. Well, look, thanks for staying like on here and listening and everything like that. But do us a favor, do go into DUC Club, mate, and tell people. And the beauty of how the DUC Club, it's there, it's good, it's for what you need and what you're looking for and everything like that. If you're our client, people like David will help you get through, and then in return you put in what you get. Okay, that's what I always say to people. If you're going to be active on there, and you're in a closed group with our current 600 plus clients, and everyone's doing the English test, everyone's doing the skills assessment, everyone's got our partners and that are on there. It's great, but you have to the more questions you ask, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, that is the base, I think, isn't it? The both Facebook groups you've got the Down Under Centre hub and the club for the gap training as well. So within the electrical gap training Facebook page, there's 50 odd people on there, and any questions are bounced around, and your experts here have got an opinion or advice on stuff that gets asked. People are getting replies at 11 o'clock at night from your staff, so it's brilliant.
They're good guys. They're good guys. Well, mate, look, it's a big show tonight, but just thank you so much for sticking back. Thanks, Vicky, and all that, and thanks everybody, for letting you sort of stick back. Now, don't go out for tea with this guy because he won't have Chinese. You take him to the Tapaz place, he won't have Tapaz. And what did you end up getting in the end, mate?
Nando's.
Nando's, where you pay £17,000 for a piece of chicken. It's got peri-peri sauce on it, eh?
I was looking for somewhere that sells chicken parmos, which is a Middlesbrough delicacy, but nobody's heard of that around here.
Chicken parma, mate. That's like, I think half of it. Oh, mate, they're in Oz. I think every Australian from Queensland has a chicken parma tattoo on the back of their shoulder, mate. Chicken parma, piece of chicken, guys, bit of ham, cheese on top. Beautiful. You got to get into a parma. But, mate, thank you so much for everything that, you've been an amazing client. We'll continue to get you over the visa. So guys, just a big shout out. This is one of our clients that just stuck around, so huge shout out and thank you again.
It was my I asked to stick around as well, didn't I, to promote you, because you do such a good job on our level, so thank you.
No worries. No worries. You're a legend. Thank you so much, Dave. So guys, what we'll do, jump back, Mo. I feel I don't like just sitting here by myself. I get a bit nervous. So guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move to a little something that we've put together. So a tradie working holiday pack. So for guys that are like myself, me and Mo, under 31 years of age, you still are under 31.
No,
really?
I'm 32 today.
Oh shit! Bad timing. I mean, apologies for swearing, but that is bad timing. Okay, if you're under 31 and you're eligible for a working holiday visa, guys, you've got this experience to try before you buy. I mean, if you've been on a work and holiday visa, and you've got that opportunity, I believe in not really applying for the full visa. I guess our job is to sell visas, but at the end of the day, it's more what's best for the client. And that is so if you've got an opportunity, what it involves, guys, is you need your white card, which is the Aussie CSCS card. You get the Employment Hub membership, which I'll run through a little bit about. That's our tool that connects to migrants. We've got so many employers that are looking for people. We know Michael is joining us to live from Western Australia. he's a massive fan of the working holiday visa, so he can get you out in front of his people. And includes a Skype consultation to run through how the Employment Hub works. So, guys, a new product that we've got, £70 plus VAT. So it's actually half price. If you were to buy the product separately, you'd be paying £140. So it's half price. There you go. So the next person we will bring in, who should we bring in next?
Should we bring in Michael?
Michael. All right.
Yeah.
Michael.
Coming live from Australia.
Coming live from Western Australia. Michael, I'm about to turn your voice on. Guys, just so you know, if it is your first webinar, like it's webinar, so sometimes the internet plays on us, sometimes we get feedback. There's not really much we can do about it. So, but Michael, I'm going to turn your video on. Firstly, thank you from myself and Mo for making the time to talk to our guest tonight, Michael, because you're based in Western Australia, and it's reported it's what 10 to 8 here on a Tuesday evening. What time is it over there, mate, in WA?
It's 2:51 a.m.
AM.
Kudos to you, Michael, for getting up early. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Now, Michael, you're jumping on a plane, mate.
I am. I'll be there. I think it was Saturday the 27th.
Yep. Now, Michael, what do you need to pack in your suitcase, mate? What's the one thing you need to bring in your suitcase? Do you remember?
Chicken twisties, cherry ripes, and solo.
Yeah, you make us very happy, mate. Very happy. Guys, for those who don't know, cherry ripe is like a cherry flavored bounty sort of thing, but it's just amazing.
Too, Jamie, yes,
Tim Tams. Yeah. It's all there. But, mate, you're not coming down to feed us, okay? You're coming down because you've got a bit of an issue in Western Australia, mate. You need a few positions filled. Is that right?
Yeah, we do. It's a busy time here, and we need, as a guide, if you can come here on a 417 and come here quickly, we need mechanical fitters, diesel mechanics, panel beaters in particular. People with rolling stock or railway experience. So, it's a long list. So we've got very motivated employers, very good pay rates. I think the pound is in your favour, so you'll have a good start when you start exchanging money and come here. So look, we're keen to talk to lots of trade staff.
What's really right? There's rumours going around that Western Australia is quite quiet. That you've got, a few people. What's caused this, mate? What's the reason for it?
The reason for the demand is that we unfortunately have less people wanting to do apprenticeships and do trades, and construction projects, suck up a lot of people for periods of time. And people are chasing opportunities in the mining sector, which means that there's lots of vacancies in the metropolitan area. We do need these trade staff.
What are some great perks that maybe miners are coming to live and work in WA that maybe they wouldn't get from working and living over here in the UK, would you say?
Well, look, you certainly get a chance to see our big country, and even though we're technically, it's summer's over, still great weather in Western Australia in particular. So, it's a lot of things. It's lifestyle. It's a chance to either make quite a bit of money in Western Australia and stay here long term if you can, or take it home with you. It's life-changing. It can give you that kickstart that you may not get in the UK. Just the same as when West Australians want to travel to London to work, it's a rite of passage. They want to get it out of their system, and they'll have different experiences over there. So, if you can do it, I strongly suggest that people see it that's the way for them.
Were you born and bred in WA, mate?
No, I wasn't, but I eventually got here about in the late 60s, and I still think there's still a lot of opportunities for people here, locals and visitors. So it's a question of doing things when you can. If you are single and mobile, then it's the place to come to. I would say that more so than any other state. Queensland would probably challenge us for lifestyle, but I know for a fact, it's a great summer, and it's a great lifestyle in turn.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So, when you come down for the seminar on the 27th, I mean, what are you looking for? Are you wanting people? I know you're an employer on the Employment Hub. Are you looking to see people's CVs? Are you looking to chat to them? What do we do? I mean, there's 70 odd people on here tonight. I'm sure everyone does the right thing, and I'll put a link on about our event whenever it is, or maybe I've got a link here. Oh, yeah, there's the jobs and visa seminar thing. So, what are you looking for? What do you want people to bring, mate, to make the most of your time? And are you just here for the day, or are you around in London for a little bit? What's the plan, mate?
Yeah, no, I think I'm there for about 4 days. Look, I certainly don't mind talking to people, but I do want to talk to people who've put a lot of thought into this, because it is life-changing, and you're going to leave family and your network behind. So whilst I'm happy to talk to people, I need to talk to people who've really thought it through and talk to their family about it, and have some cash reserves, because they need to get settled when they get here. So look, I can talk to people in Perth, but I actually need people who are motivated and ready to go. Otherwise, it's not the success I want it to be.
Yeah. No, fair play, mate. We'll ensure that. Is there anything else you'd like to bring in tonight, a bit about how you can help people, or what advice you'd give, or anything like that? I know you'll be in the chat room, but you've stayed up. Have you stayed up, or did you wake up early, mate? What'd you do? It's 2:15, mate.
No, I did get a few hours, and I'll try to do that again when we finish. Look, we're in a position to be able to set up, go to meetings and Skype chats with candidates, but really, things can change quickly. So if someone said to me, "I'll see you next week," I would arrange interviews for them where I can. We'll be clear with them about what I can do for them. I can't place every trade. I'd love to. There's certain trades in our in Perth that I can guide you to employers, and that might be some of the wet trades, concrete workers. There might be part of the process where your skills have to be matched up, and you might have to get Australian equivalency. But if you're motivated, that's where you will need some cash reserves to get the relevant tickets or licenses here. But things will happen for you if you're motivated and you're focused. And yeah, absolutely, I'd be here to give them guidance and help. I mean, one thing about recruitment, you help someone out and get them a job, you change their lives, and if they can say good things about you to their network, then things will happen for me also. So happy to help wherever I can.
Good man, mate. Good man. Awesome. All right. Well, look, thank you very much for making the time. Me and Mo so appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone here appreciates. So please stick around in the chat room. We'll leave his details on, and we'll put Michael in the emails today, so you'll all get his details as well if you haven't got a pen and paper. But yeah, guys, Michael, thank you so much, mate. You've been a star the last 2 webinars, mate. Thank you again.
Thank you.
No worries. So, Mo, that was Michael coming in from Western Australia. What a man, hey?
Yeah, very excited to meet him at the seminar at the end of April. So if you haven't bought your tickets yet, you can come meet all of us face-to-face, have some one-on-one time to talk to, visa specialists, removalists, smart teachers, UC, and Michael about your migration journey.
And A&A will be there. It's kind of weird. But what are we going to do if there's one cherry ripe bar and one pack of twisties? How do we resolve this?
I don't like twisties. Do you like twisties?
Oh, I like twisties.
I'll have the cherry ripe. You have the twisties.
I like cherry ripe more, but I'll be a gentleman and take the twisties. That's fine. It's not a problem. All right, cool. So, guys, what I'm going to do now is talk a little bit about the visa service that the Down Under Centre provides. Okay. Sorry, someone's knocked on our doorbell, which is weird. Anyway, the show goes on. Okay, guys. So what we do for those people who aren't familiar with our services, we like to when we engage a client, we sign a client up. We charge a fee of $550 plus VAT, and what that allows you to do, it gives you access to the DEC Club, our private Facebook group, just for our clients, which means we're pretty much contactable 24/7. Gives you membership to the DEC Employment Hub. That's where we meet Michael and where you upload all your photos, your videos, your references. You know, the employers can track your migration. Your plane starts in the UK or wherever you're from, and then at the end it goes down to Australia. So it's really good. We work with you. We're open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. So you've pretty much got us. We've got 12 full-time staff members. So we're pretty much contactable at all time. We can run through the skills assessments, obviously gathering the years of evidence that you need for your work experience at the same time as well. So it's all sort of there for you. Expression of interest. Now, if you guys, people call us all the time, Mo, and they'll sort of say, look, we want to start up the visa process. We want to do that. We don't do it like that. There's no point taking money from clients. What if you don't pass your English test? Yeah. Okay. So we want to be able to work with you to get you through the stage process. And when you're up to the expression of interest, there's nothing better in life than having choice, apart from when you take the cherry ripe option and leave me with the twisties, but that's fine. You've got to have choice. So what we do is if you choose to use us to lodge the expression of interest in the state nomination, at that point we charge a fee of £600 plus VAT. So we haven't, I think a lot of people out there, and maybe, you know, hopefully we've changed the way some companies think, where they'll charge you a lot of money up front, and then they've got your money, and then it's harder to deliver that service because they've actually, you know, you've been paid for the work that you may or may not have done. So I like to do it. Might be back to my old plumbing days where, you know, if someone wants a bathroom, you know, you're not going to charge them up front for the whole lot. You're going to charge them in stages, and that's the way it should be done. And then we charge a fee of, why is that stuck? For the visa lodgement, we charge a fee of £600 plus VAT if you choose to use us only at that stage. Okay, so that's a little bit about what we do for that. I won't talk too much now, guys. Tonight, usually we've got JB in the background, Jenny Baker in the background, but she couldn't join us today for personal reasons, and that reason is she's on a holiday, and that lady deserves a holiday more than anybody.
Certainly, though, if you do have any questions about visas, you know, 100%.
We love Jenny. You're a legend, Jenny. Emily. We love Jenny.
Yeah, and you know, personally, someone I spoke to on the phone today, actually at Smart Teachers, said, "Oh, you know a lot about visas," and I attribute that 100%, 110% to just being in a room with Jenny every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of every month. She's so knowledgeable. And, you know, 100% recommend the DEC for any of your visa questions. They offer such good advice and are upfront with your options, and there's no hidden agenda or anything like that. And, you know, when it comes to visas, it can be overwhelming. It can be quite complicated. And I think that having someone to support you through the process is something to consider. To start the initial conversation with the DEC, just to have that as an option.
Yeah, true. And I love it. Michelle, you're right. Like, she's been on our private Facebook group all day. Just like there's new changes that's coming through, and it's like, Jenny, just
on a holiday,
chill.
Jenny.
She's chill. Well, she's playing bridge. She likes to play bridge.
She does,
so I think it's a card game. I hope it's a card game and not playing with bridges. Anyway, okay, so our next guest will be Talia. We'll bring in, how does that sound? We'll bring Talia in to chat to our nurses. All right, Talia, I'm about to turn your voice on. Now, Talia's not coming from Western Australia. She's coming in. T, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yep. Got you loud and clear. I've just turned your slideshow on. So you've been quite busy. You've been you're in London doing a show, then you're in Manchester, then Eric was over as well, and you were in Ireland. What were you doing, and who are you looking for?
We were looking for, well, we were interviewing for specific job roles in the Melbourne area, as well as, well, all over Australia, really. We had a lot of vacancies that we wanted to fill, so we were trying to meet with ideal candidates all over the joint, really.
Oh, fantastic. Did you find the people you're looking for?
Not all of them. We still have some positions available. So yeah, we've got lots of positions at the minute, full-time, part-time, agency work as well. So we've got all kind of roles that we can assist nurses getting to Australia with.
Also, and your role obviously at ANA is a little bit of a sort of a pre-departure service of such. So you would, you know, connect candidates with, you know, advice on visas, where the jobs are. Is that sort of what the service you'd provide from London?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We obviously hand you guys over if you need a visa to the very capable Jenny. That's kind of all of her business, but we assist with job roles, getting your CV ready, making sure that everything is kind of set up so that you've got your registration, you're basically job ready to touch down in Australia.
And what are the common visas you would say that teachers, sorry, not teachers, nurses tend to get that you see?
More the permanent residency. I primarily work with working holiday nurses, so under 31s or 35 if you're Irish. Yeah, but I also do a couple of sponsorship and things like that. But I find the hospitals are a bit shy with the sponsorships at the moment. So yeah, mainly permanent residency and working holiday more than anything.
Yeah, we find that too with teachers. You know, with sponsorship, you need to be quite flexible about where you want to go, you know, what time you want to move over. So yeah, the independent visa route
Completely
or the
agree.
working holiday, yeah, is the way to
Yeah,
go.
that's
So
it.
what's sort of a common thing you see on CVs perhaps over here in the UK that doesn't quite translate over to Australia, or something that could be a useful addition to a CV? What would you recommend?
I always say the difference is in the UK you don't necessarily need a CD to apply through the NHS. In Australia, you do need a CV, and the main thing is a cover letter. So many people submit their CV, but because they don't have a cover letter, the hospital won't necessarily look at it. So I always assist with like writing job-specific cover letters and things like that, and making sure the CV is all relevant to the nursing that you want to do more than anything. You've got to make sure that it's all relevant. Hospitals basically want to see your nursing. That's about it. They don't really mind if you worked as a checkout chick when you were 16 or something. It's more about your post degree qualifications than anything else.
And I think that advice for cover letters really does translate across other industries too. So with teaching, I'd also recommend cover letters be an addition.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's an Australian thing for the cover letter, isn't it? Yeah, like you don't necessarily need them for all job roles over here, and it's such a common thing to see in Australia, and yet it's not common over here. It's just one of the differences of the countries.
So what else would you say is a big difference about nursing over here compared to nursing in Australia?
Well, I would say the workload more than anything. Nurses over here have a huge amount of paperwork to do. They have a huge patient to nurse ratio and things like that, where the workload in Australia, I found as a nurse myself, a lot easier. You've got a smaller patient load. You don't have a HCA, so you've got other qualified nurses working alongside you, and the paperwork's a lot less. So you've got more one-to-one contact with your patient, and like it kind of gives you that caring role back. Where over here it sometimes is lost due to the fact that nurses are overwhelmed with paperwork and patient loads.
And where would you say most of the jobs are? Are they localized to one specific state, or is it pretty much all around that the country needs nurses?
All around, like Australia's crying out for nurses all over. We primarily work in Melbourne in both the public and private sector and all over Victoria. we also work with affiliation agencies all over the country. So if we can't assist you, we do pass you on to our associates, and they can assist you in other states and cities there.
So I have a question from Faye. Faye's one of our clients. It's way up here. Julia, do you deal with community nursing jobs?
We do. We assist with finding community nursing jobs. We work with the Melbourne community nurses, as well as, like I said, we've got other agencies, things that we can pass you on to if Victoria is not the state that you want to work in.
So that's like sort of breaking news. So what, guys, previously Tilly used to come in and just be sort of like, look, we're just looking for Melbourne. But the big dog, Eric, came down last week, I guess, and the week before.
Yeah.
And now he's instructed that A&A will be sourcing for all over Australia. So if anyone has that mindset, oh, A&A is just for Melbourne, things have changed. So definitely get a hold of Talia, so she can work out. Talia is also on the DUC Employment Hub. She's another employer on there. Faye, I know that you've had a couple of followers, which is awesome news. Have you had any, Faye, if you can hear me, have you had any interviews yet with any people on there? And then maybe Talia, we've got to like get Faye, like check out her stuff and pass it over on the Employment Hub.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, Talia's contact details are on that slide if you can see it. So would you say, Talia, the first step for a lot of people would just be to send their CV over to you, even if they are maybe haven't got the visa yet, and just after some initial kind of connection and advice?
Yeah, exactly. Like I help whether you're at the beginning of your visa or at the end sort of thing. I keep in contact, and like I said, I kind of assist to get everything ready so that your job ready. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need only, oh, I'm leaving next week. It can be months before you leave. It's just about making that contact, and I can assist with in any way that I can.
Fantastic. So if you are looking for any advice on nursing in Oz, just feel free to type your questions out now. Talia will be in the chat room. Feel free to send your CV over. So email address is up there, and CV advice, as Talia was saying, that is something that they offer as a service too. So same with teaching, we find that teachers don't know how to write a CV because it's not common practice. So it's a service that Smart offer too, which is fantastic. So thank you so much, Talia, for chatting with us.
Happy birthday, and I'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll see you at the seminar perhaps at the end of the month. But have
Yes,
a good one.
exactly. I'll be there.
Oh,
See
cool.
ya.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Cool. Julia, can you just respond to Esther as well about we've got some thumb on the screen.
What am I doing?
Turn
Turn
it
it. Okay. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, I'm really bad at the text. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Don't stress. We like looking at Julia's thumb. She had like her finger on the
Yeah.
thing that looked like.
Yeah, just continue to type your questions, guys. The experts are still in the chat room, and if you didn't quite get down their contact details, we're happy to pass it on their behalf.
So just so you know, tonight's a little bit different because you're going to be chatting through the whole schooling system.
Yes.
I actually forgot about that.
Yeah.
And until Natasha came on and said that, that's yeah. So what we'll do, let's chat to Alex Abupa.
Yep.
Get him involved. Let's see if he's got his puppy around. Alex, we're turning you on, mate.
This is a great one to tune into, guys. Yeah, we can hear you. With the health insurance, it's actually a compulsory part of a lot of visas, so it is worth really paying attention to what Alex has got to say, because for most of everyone in the chat room, if you're looking for a 189 or 190 visas like that, you're going to have to get health insurance. So, hi Alex, how you going?
Hey, how you doing? No puppy, I'm afraid, only me.
Oh.
All right, let's bring our next guest
Yeah,
on.
let's turn it off, yeah?
Mate, Alex, we're going to be, we've got quite a bit, guys, sorry, tonight's going to be quite a busy show because we wanted to chat to David, make the most of his time. And obviously when you got an employer, Michael coming in from WA, you want to take the time to do it. So just before Alex starts, we've still got Will to talk about foreign exchange. Obviously, we're not going to mention the B word at the moment. The B word's not Booper, by the way. The other word, Booper. It's the it's the other word. But what we will do is, and then Mo, you're going to be talking about all the teaching and how to do schooling
Yes.
and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
So tune in, and then I'm also going to run through the Employment Hub and the changes, and we're introducing a couple of new staff members on that. So over to you, buddy. Over to you.
Good man. Yeah, they've got a lot to cover tonight, so I'll run through it fairly quickly for you guys. And obviously, if the guys in the forum want to follow up with any questions after, I can give them a call tomorrow, and we can go through their own particular case and what's required. But in general, just to really a heads up, I've got a couple of bullet points on here. The national health system and the comparables with the private healthcare system. The national health system over here being very good. Of course, we're very lucky. We pay significant taxes for it, but we are very, very lucky in the UK to have it. And the equivalent in Australia is Medicare. So as a lot of you, I'm assuming, are probably going to be UK nationals tonight, we do have, as a UK national, direct access to Medicare free of charge, the national healthcare system in Australia. So by all means, private healthcare isn't mandatory unless, as Mo was mentioning briefly there, it might be part of your visa application. So for the new parent visa, student visas, 482 visas, the old 457, those kind of visas, they deem private healthcare mandatory anyway. So you're going to need to take it out. Regardless of if you've got access to the national healthcare system or not, you're going to have to take private healthcare for your visa to be compliant. So there are hundreds of different types of visas. So I'm more than happy to field any questions directly from the guys. If they know the particular visa subclass they're traveling on, I can say whether or not it's a compliance issue. But furthermore, to give you a bit of context, even if it's not a compliance issue, private healthcare is just a different culture in Australia. I think over here at the moment, it's around about 12% of the country are privately covered, and that's in the UK. In Australia, to give you a bit of an understanding of the comparables, it's in around 57, 56% at the moment of the Australian population that aren't happy to be reliant on Medicare, the national healthcare system. They take out private cover. And that can be for any number of reasons. You know, private cover will cover dentistry, it can cover optical care. I mean, even things like you would take for granted, an ambulance, for example, isn't covered as standard under Medicare. So if, God forbid, you're in the middle of nowhere and you need an ambulance to a 3-hour away trip to a hospital, Medicare will cover you for the treatment once you're there, God forbid, if you need it. But that travel to the hospital will be a call-out fee, depending on which state you are in, but there'll be a call-out fee of up to maybe $1,000 for the ambulance. You're then looking at a per kilometre fee to get to the hospital, by which point you've already spent nearly what you would have done on an annual premium for your private healthcare. So yeah, I mean, there's many reasons. Mo, you touched on that about the visa compliance. That's a huge one. Simply as well, there's the financial aspect. I won't get into too much detail, but Gary has just conveniently mentioned it on here, the tax implication and the medical levy surcharge. As UK nationals, a lot of you will be hoping that you'll be earning more money out there. And if you are due to earn in your industry over 90,000 Australian dollars per annum, then you will have to pay the medical levy surcharge. So the medical levy surcharge is at least 1% of your entire income, bonuses, commissions, whatever you get. So let's say you earn 200,000 Australian dollars a year, you'd be paying at least $2,000 back to the Australian government for having access to Medicare. It's just a tax. However, if you've got compliant Bupa cover, which I can help you with via the UK, then you alleviate that problem. You don't pay the medical levy surcharge. You get private care, world-renowned treatment, no wait periods, dentistry, ambulance cover, peace of mind, visa compliance. It's just a win-win-win-win-win. So it's probably worth emailing me. I'm sure everyone's got their own individual questions, their own medical histories, of course, that they have their concerns about. Another one from Charles here, is there a charge for children? Actually, our family plans and single parent plans, children under the age of 21, they will go free of charge. And if they're in full-time education up until 25, they'll go free of charge. So we've got many offers like that about. We've got one specifically through the Down Centre at the moment, whereas if you need an overseas visitor plan, then we can offer a 1 month free, so your second month isn't billed. But there's so many different avenues to it. It's a complex subject. I'll urge you to all email me and I can give you a call tomorrow. I'll get my contact details on here in a minute. I hope that was quick enough.
That was fantastic. So we did have a question about what the price is per month, but would you say that's quite specific to the person?
It's variable. Yeah. Well, to give you a case and point, myself, I'm a 32-year-old male UK national. If I went out there on a 482 visa and worked for 2 years, then I'd be looking to take out one of our overseas plans. The minimum cost for me as a 32-year-old to get a good level of cover would be in and around $140 a month. But when you'll be talking to Will in a minute at Global Reach, the exchange rate is pretty good, I believe. He'll probably correct me. But $140 in pound sterling, it's not that scary compared to premiums over here. So I'm more than happy to do hypothetical quotes as well for everyone. Just give me a heads up on the email.
Yeah, definitely. So your contact details are up there. So Alex's email, phone number. So if it is a bit more specific to the person, it might be a good idea just to shoot an email over to get a call tomorrow. And I know a lot of people,
definitely.
have pre-existing conditions and things like that. So if you are seeking advice, I definitely would say to give you a call. And will you be at the seminar at the end of the month too?
Unfortunately not. I'm not there at the end of the month. I'm actually going on holiday as well. I'm off to Cape Verde for a little while. I need to go. I need to try and get a bit of a tan and go a darker shade of pasty. There was one before I move. Before I move away from it as well, I will finish up. But Kirk has just mentioned what you touched on there. If they've got a Bupa UK plan already, in fact, any private healthcare plan around the world, then we can potentially look at transferring that and portability over to Bupa Australia. And that will mean that pre-existing conditions might well be covered. You might not have wait periods for things like maternity benefits and what have you. It's case by case, so I obviously can't do a blanket rule there. But again, I'll chuck my details on here now. We'll happy to have a conversation tomorrow.
Yeah, fantastic. And you'll be in the chat too to answer any questions that people do type. Definitely worth asking as many questions as you can. Personally, I didn't have private healthcare when I lived in Australia, and the process of when you would have to pay to go to get some scans or get some x-rays, you'd have to line up at Medicare to get the money back that you'd have to put down. It's quite a process. And what Alex was saying about the tax situation with the levy, it's certainly something to take into consideration when you're moving over there. It's actually more going to work out better in the end to get private health insurance at the end of the financial year when you do get the Medicare levy added to your tax return. So
absolutely.
Definitely worth
it's a funny way of doing things. It can sometimes work out that you're financially better off with paying for a private healthcare premium than you would have otherwise if you relied on the free national healthcare system. I know that sounds odd, but it can often be the case. More than happy to have a chat with everyone, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and I can definitely say too, things like dentistry is very expensive in Australia. So when you've kind of got a healthcare plan that perhaps includes sort of basic the dental checkups, it adds up for sure. So thank you so much, Alex. I'll switch off your video very slowly. Hopefully I don't screw this up, but thank you so much for our chat. And we're gonna go over to Will now. And Will's going to talk a little bit about how to about the Australian dollar and when to buy the Australian dollars. It's from Global Reach, so I'm just going to turn on your microphone. Will, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, Mo. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can, yes. I think your video is just popping up just now. Yes, there we go. How's it going, Will?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you for joining us. So we're not allowed to talk about Brexit. That's what I've been told.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But we know obviously that that's going to impact a lot, perhaps, on the state of the pound and the Aussie dollar. So just looking at your talking points today. So about the timing of transferring your money across, what would you say is the best time to be moving money into Aussie dollars?
When the pound's strong and the Aussie dollar's weak. obviously. With regards to timing and overseas money transfer, that's where we come in. We, as a currency specialist, we work hand in hand with people to help them to time the transaction. At the moment, the pound is so sensitive to any kind of market commentary, anything that's coming out from the Bank of England, from the government, and it's sensitive both sides. It can strengthen very quickly, but it will weaken very quickly as well. We're actually looking at. I'm just looking at my slides now. The pound to Aussie rate is over 1% better today than it was first thing this morning. Obviously, Theresa May has come out this afternoon, just before we jumped on the webinar, actually, to say that she's open to speaking with Jeremy Corbyn to get something through. Very not keen on a no deal. I nearly said it then, no deal, B word. And that's obviously helped the pound. It's being driven a lot by uncertainty at the moment, because that's one thing the markets don't like. Whether we leave, whether we don't leave, whether we get a hard leave or not, as soon as we start knowing what that looks like and getting a bit of clarity around it, then that's going to help. And it seems that when you look at the long-term trend, it is upwards. We are, the further away we get from the referendum, nearly 3 years ago, it is actually strengthening. We hit a 2.5-year high last month, the month before, and it really is starting to pick up now, and it's still being knocked by negative movements. So what we're saying when it comes to timing the transaction is that rather than being left to your own devices, that's where we come in. We can help you. We can put strategies in place. We can target a higher rate. One of the services that we offer is something called a limit order, which is where if you, Mo, for instance, say you've got £10,000, you want to trade it into Aussie dollars, and at the moment you're thinking 185, 186 isn't great. You want to wait until it hits 190. We can put an order in with the markets at 190, and we'll say, okay, trade Miss Hawkins funds when it hits 190. Now, we can't guarantee it's going to get there, but if along the next few weeks it does, then the second it hits 190, we automatically buy that from the market. We give you a call to say your rate's been achieved. You then send us the sterling, and we send out the dollars. There's no fees or commission involved either. So if you're getting the 1.9, you will get the $19,000. That's what will arrive in your bank account out in Australia. But it really is key at the moment to time it. We've seen, I think, on my next slide. So just looking at the difference over time, one thing also to bear in mind is that it's never too early. A lot of people we speak to, whether it's through the Down Under Centre or other partners, people that come to us, especially in immigration, kind of think, I'll worry about that a bit nearer the time. Now, if you look at the difference, you've got 14 cents difference where it's gone from 186 in October down to 172 in December. That's the lowest it had been since we voted to leave. And then the difference between the 5th of February and the 3rd of March, where we've got 14 cents higher than back in December again, with a 2.5-year high. Now, what that equates to over a 5-month period, this first row here, this is based on if you had £10,000, and this row is based on if you had £100,000. Now, the difference between these 4 dates, which you see is just 5 months in those, is the difference between getting an extra $1,400 in your account or an extra $14,000 if you've got £100,000. So if you know you're making the move, if you're 6 months away, certainly time to start having a chat with us, and we can start looking at your requirements and what we can do to help. Gary, you do need an Australian bank account to transfer your funds into, but another benefit of us is that we are an e-money institution. We're fully authorised by the FCA to actually store funds. So we can actually hold on to your funds in sterling or Australian dollars until you've got that account open. Both ourselves and the Down Under Centre, we do have relationships with Australian banks as well, and you can get an account open from the UK before you leave within 12 months of arriving in Australia. It's actually easier to get the account open when you're still in the UK than walking into a bank in Australia and trying to open an account there without any proof of ID or proof of address. It's actually easier to do that from over here. We can help with that. Wes and the guys down under centre can help you with that as well.
100% recommend that. From my personal experience, it was such a palaver to get an account opened in the UK when I first arrived. So just, yeah, looking at your slide, it's an obvious massive difference and fluctuating amounts that you can get at certain points. So I guess Global Reach is, you know, working in your favor and keeping an eye on the trends, and then contacting you directly when it's at the benefit of the consumer. But would you say that, did you say 6 months is the ideal time before someone departs to get in touch with Global Reach? Or
if you're over 6 months, we'll still have a chat with you. Get registered with. I mean, registration with us is completely free of charge. It doesn't obligate you to use us. There's no charge involved. It does give you access to our live rates. We can also start sending you market commentary, so you can get used to what's going on in the markets and what's driving it up and down. You also then get assigned a dedicated dealer who'll work hand in hand with you. It's, you know, even if you're 2 weeks away, if you haven't yet transferred your money, get in contact with us, because the other benefit is the rates of exchange that we offer. We guarantee to beat the rate of exchange from anywhere else. With regards to high street banks, you're going to get a much better rate, which again maximises your funds. Make sure you get more Australian dollars at the end of it. We're monitoring the markets constantly, so the reason we're here is to get people the best rate of exchange that we can. We don't charge a fee, we don't charge commissions. If you're looking at smaller transfers, we've got an online platform you can use as well. It's something that's really important that people tend to think about a bit too late. What I suggest is get registered with us. Either get in contact with me via email. I'll also post the link at the bottom where you can register. It's very easy to do. And once you're registered, it's very easy to transfer your funds as well. It's the same as any other product. I've said this before in previous webinars. The more of something you buy, the better rate you get. We turn over in excess of 4.5 billion every year in currency transfers, so we benefit from wholesale rates of exchange. We then pass those savings on to our clients, which is what gives people a preferential rate of exchange over the bank's rates. Also, if you're coming through the Down Under Centre, again, we'll make sure you get a preferential rate. Catherine, no, there's no limit to how much you can transfer in one go. We previously had a minimum, but that has now been abolished as well with our online platform, because you can go on yourself. Anything over £10,000 though, we would suggest do speak direct to a currency dealer, and then they can help you get that best rate and time that correctly.
oh, fantastic! That's great. Thank you so much, Will.
So I've missed one here, Paul. General fees. There are no fees. We don't charge a fee. We don't charge commission. I know that always then begs the next question: how therefore do we make our money? As I said previously, the amount that we buy and sell, we make our money on the difference between where we sell and where we buy. It's just very marginal compared with the banks. The banks obviously don't specialize in FX. The banks have all manner of products and services that they offer, and when it comes to foreign exchange, there is a huge markup. There's a huge margin. So you might walk into a bank today and they'll tell you that the rate is 180, and you just assume that's the rate, whereas in actual fact that's their retail rate. That's the rate that they're providing their clients, whereas they're buying at 186 or 187. Now, if you've got 10, 20, 30,000 pounds, that's a huge amount of your money that they're taking. We make our money exactly the same way as the banks do. We just take a much, much smaller margin because the volumes we are doing, we can afford to do that.
Oh, fantastic! And I can definitely say that a few of my candidates who are teachers who have used Global Reach have nothing but good things to say. So thank you so much for our chat. Will you be at the seminar in April?
Yes, I will.
Cool. So a chance to meet Will face to face alongside all of us. So if you haven't bought your tickets yet to the DUC seminar, go via the website. The last weekend of April, the 27th. So thank you so much, Will. Really appreciate you being online tonight. I'm just going to very slowly turn your video off and make sure that I don't crash this whole system. I think that's all right. Cool. So I think we still have Mark from Go Walkabout. I'm just going to quickly check to see if Mark's still available to have a chat. Mark, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mark? I think he might be there. We'll put his details up though. If you have any questions about insurance, travel insurance, he'll definitely be able to assist. So I've just popped his details up there. So from Go Walkabout, you can drop that number down if you have any questions about travel insurance. So I guess it's my turn just to quickly talk about teaching and schools in Australia. So my background is I used to teach in Melbourne for about 7 years in secondary schools. I also have taught here in the UK as well. I'm obviously Australian. I grew up in the system, in the government school system. I've taught in the government and the independent school system. So I'm from Smart Teachers. We're part of TES, the Times Education Supplement, and we help teachers find jobs in Oz. So if you're a teacher out there and you're looking for a job in Oz, we're a completely free service and we'd love to help you find work. I'll just pop my details up there right now. So I guess, you know, a common question we get is about children and how they're going to settle into schools in Australia. I must say, from my experience teaching over here and teaching in Oz, they're very similar. So I think the children will be able to adapt really quickly to the school system back in Australia. We do have catchment areas with schools. So if you're looking to put your child into a public school or a government school, as we would say, sometimes it is dependent on where you are, where you're located, what suburb you're in. Not necessarily all the time, though. Those people tend to get priority. Otherwise, it's still fine to put in an application for your child to attend a school that's out of your catchment area. Totally fine. Just note that usually the people within the local suburb will tend to get priority. So I guess in Oz, we tend to have only two kinds of schools. We have independent schools and state schools. So independent, just meaning any school not run by the government. It could be Catholic, a Christian school, a secular school, a boarding school, a Uniting Church school. These schools are part of the independent category. They do their own recruitment, their own advertising. They run pretty much the same. They tend to have a bit more school holidays. They tend to have better resources on board. As someone who grew up in the other system, the state school system, otherwise known as the government school system, totally fine too. I no problems in there. Still really great resources, great teachers, maybe less holidays. For independent schools, there might be a little bit more competitive in terms of registering children to attend than government schools. The fees are always listed on their website. So if you ever want to know what the average fee is for a school in your local area that's an independent school, simply just go to their website. The information is usually on their website. Now, one question I often get is, because our school dates are really different in Oz, when do the children start? So, you know, a child that's perhaps in reception here is moving to Australia in January. Well, do they need to repeat the last 6 months of school, or do they need to, do they get moved over to year one? It will really be up to the school to decide. So it's very imperative to contact the school directly and to ask the school what year level your child will be in. Usually they will need to repeat a couple of months. So when you're in school in Australia, you start in reception, as you do here. You're either 5 years old or perhaps you're 4. Some students will start earlier, depending on what month they're born. The school will decide if they're ready for school or not by the month that they are born. So, for example, I'm born in April. I started school when I was really young. I was 4, and there were a couple of kids in my class who were older than me, and they were turning 5. So it depends really on what month you're born, and the school is going to be able to explain exactly what year you'll be in. It's quite possible they'll have to repeat a couple of months, only because our academic year runs from January and it goes all the way to December. January to December, 12-week terms, no half terms, no break in between those 12 weeks. So the kids get used to it after a while. It might be a bit daunting at first for kids to be at school for so long, but they go from January to April, no half-term break, 2 weeks holiday. Then they go until July, again 2 weeks holiday in the middle. They go from July to September, 2 weeks holiday. and then they go October to December, and then 6 weeks holiday. So they get their final big block of holidays in summer, which is you know, what you would get here, but you'd get it in July and August. I don't think I wouldn't say our schools run backwards to our education system, only because personally I've had my my high school qualifications assessed by NARIC, which is the UK skills assessor for education in the UK, and it was deemed equivalent to A level here. So I wouldn't say that they run backward just because I've had that assessment of my high school qualifications to here, and NARIC, yeah, the official board of UK education sort of said this is equivalent to the UK system. So basically, yeah, you start school at virtually the exactly same hours. So students will start school at 8:30, maybe 9 at some schools, run to about 3 p.m., 3:15 some schools, 3:30 some schools, depending on the school. They have a break at about 11 for a snack. Then they have a lunch break. A big difference, we don't do school dinners in Australia. So it's very common for parents to bring, for kids to bring a pack lunch to school. They don't sit in a hall and eat all together. That's not really how we do it. Children will take their lunch outside and eat usually under the shade because it's a bit too hot to eat in the sunshine. We do have what we call a tuck shop or a canteen where students can buy food if you don't have if you don't have a packed lunch. It usually is, Gary, it is compulsory usually to wear a hat in summer. So if the kids don't bring a hat to school, they must sit in the classroom or under a tree, which is the worst thing. If you forget your hat in school, oh my gosh, it's like the worst thing that happens in a kid's school day. They do the same subjects, so you do know the classroom teacher would do maths and would do English. Then you might get a specialist teacher come in and do music. Specialist teacher come in and do PE. The day just runs so similar to how the day runs here in the UK. So the kids are going to find it's just really, same thing, going through the motions, do a school assembly, do concerts throughout the year. It can be a little bit different in terms of school size. That might throw children off. Is that often in Australia we have primary and secondary schools combined, and we call them colleges. So primary and a secondary school on the same campus. It's quite large, 1,000 kids or more. There's usually an area that separates the older children from the younger children. Kind of nice because you get sometimes the secondary staff teaching to the primary students, and the primary students find it less intimidating to move to the next stage, to move to the high school, because they kind of have already been on that soil, so they're used to the campus, they're used to seeing the teachers around. So the transition between primary and secondary is easy because of the colleges. The class size is definitely very similar, 30 usually in a primary class. One thing that's a little bit different, I must say, some schools do have 2 classes in one room. So we might have a year 4-5 class. So that's year 4, maybe 15 kids, and year 5, maybe 15 kids in the same classroom. And then one teacher teaching the year 4s and year 5s together in one room. So that's quite common. You might get year 1-2 class. When I was a kid, I was in reception 1-2. So that means I had, my reception classmates, but then also the year 1s were in the same room and the year 2s were in the same room. So you all learn in the same area. I think it's getting less and less common. But yeah, it's actually really good because, the advanced students can kind of step up and, learn what the older children are learning. But I guess it's not as common, especially in independent schools. It's more of a state school thing. With children with special needs, definitely when you're enrolling children in schools or inquiring about schools in the local area that you're planning to head to, I would put that up front to the head teacher or on your application form, just to sort of work out what the situation is with that. I mean, generally speaking, it's going to be totally fine. And in some cases, there's funding available. So you get a specialist support teacher that can assist a student with a special education need. The school that I worked at in an independent sector, I had one student who had a learning disability, and I had a one-on-one teacher come in every now and then to support that student directly in certain classes. In some classes, he would be taken out of the room to go learn in a quiet space. So there's it's definitely a case by case thing. So you'd need to be upfront with in your application just to see what the school is happy to provide as a service. And in some cases, like I said, there would be funding available too. So with the older children, so in secondary, you run from year 7 all the way up to year 12. Year 7 to 10 is a really quite a breezy experience, I would say. So year 7 to 10 for children is year 7 to 13, you know, up to year 10, 15, 16. You know, you do exams you get your report. It doesn't really mean much to your final mark in high school. So that's why I say they're quite breezy years. Year 11 and 12 are quite different. So this is our senior years, and this is our like A levels. It's very different depending on what state you go to, which is really interesting. Australia is so huge. We have a national curriculum, but we have state curriculum. So Victoria, so for example, Phil, if your child is moving to, you know, if you're going to Melbourne, you know, your eldest who's going to be in year 10, once he hits year 11, that's when it's actually going to matter. Don't tell him no. You can totally tell him that year 10 matters too, but it actually doesn't. It'll be his VCE curriculum, Victorian Certificate of Education curriculum, and that's when they'll do exams. I'll even go as far as to say, I mean, I taught in secondary schools. Year 11 is another year that doesn't really matter towards final results. So year 12 is the sort of pinnacle year where he needs to really get really focused, and your exams actually mean something, and your essays actually mean something. So I wouldn't worry too much, Phil. If your child's moving over in year 10, it's quite and it's a year that doesn't really matter towards any kind of final marks or anything like that. It is quite different, definitely, but you won't need to worry about that until he's in year 11 and 12, because those are the VCE or whatever years. Teachers, a lot of teachers in Oz cover more than one subject, Robert, to answer your question, but personally I didn't. I was just a music teacher, so it's common also to not cover 2 subjects. If you only teach 1 subject, that's totally fine to work in Australia. So we do sort of GCSEs, just to answer Michelle's question. You pick 6 subjects in year 11. So you pick 6 subjects. This is all around in Oz. So a child will pick, you know, English, maths, health. I like history. I like PE. I like psychology. There's your 6 subjects. And then in year 12, the year that matters, as I was saying, drops down to 5. You must do English. That's the only requirement. You must do English. There's a couple of Englishes you can pick: English language, English, straight English, or English literature. But the other 4 subjects, you can choose what you want. You can choose maths. You can choose maths on a really easy level. You can choose maths on a really hard level. You can pick German. You can pick music. You get 5 subjects. And you do exams throughout the year, and then that year, as I've been saying, year 12 is the year that really matters, and at the end you get a mark that sort of is an indication of how you've gone throughout those 5 subjects, and that mark can help you get into university courses. So it is the year that matters, year 12. I guess common languages, interestingly, I was talking to someone about this today. Indonesian is quite common to teach in English in Australian schools. German, I learnt German in my school. French, Spanish, Mandarin in some schools. We've got a couple schools on our book who still do Latin, which is a little bit strange for us anyway. But yeah, so it depends on the school. But my school did Indonesian and German. Well, the school I taught at added French too, which is nice. Yeah, Japanese definitely. One question: do schools tend to value the art subjects more? Yeah, I think so. That's the reason why I'm not a teacher anymore, Natasha. When I moved here, I just felt like my subject as music teacher was quite undervalued. But just to put in perspective, the school I taught at in Victoria, we had a budget for our school musical of about £13,000 just for Jesus Christ Superstar, and that was, you know, a show that ran for 1 week. And yeah, so yeah, I definitely felt like the art subjects were more valued in Australia, and certainly subject areas that are in shortage, very similar to here in the UK: maths, English, DT, design tech, sciences, English, secondary really in general. And yeah, Jay just asked if they teach surfing. Definitely, Queensland schools will do marine biology for the kids. And in PE, I went to Sydney recently actually, and I saw a class at the beach at what beach was I at? Near Bondi I was at, and I saw a class doing surfing. So yeah, it is it's quite common with PE too to obviously utilize the Aussie the resources that Australia has. We actually don't have Ofsted in Oz, which brings me kind of to another point, about how to pick a school, how to pick the right school. I mean, a lot of people tend to look on the My School website. So if you Google My School, it's a government-run website, and it lists all the exam results for schools in Australia, and you can get an indication of what schools perform really well. So that's a good idea to, if you're looking for, if you're not sure about what school to pop your kid in, definitely have a look at the My School website, because the lack of Ofsted does mean that you're a little bit in the dark. Certainly, you can get a lot of feedback from your local community about what schools they attend. If you have connections, if you have family in Oz, that's a really good thing to utilize too. So with James's question, so she's finishing year 6. I think it would be fine to pop her into high school. I definitely would, it would be the school's discretion whether or not, with her age, that she'd be ready to move on to year 7. But it would just be simply the same. It's so similar in structure. I feel like we've really built the Aussie school system on the UK system. I think she'll just transfer over really easily. Personally, the only thing that really throws migrants is the lingo. We say recess for playtime for snack. I think they say snack here. No school dinners, things like that. We'll just maybe throw it.
Dinners.
No school dinners in Oz. Yeah, tuck shop. By paddle pop.
Tuck shop.
Yeah.
Donut.
Yeah, by donut. So I think she'll be fine. Uniform. Oh gosh, I've actually
Hey, Jade. Sorry.
I you know what? I live in Highgate, and I've seen there's a school near me that has the exact same uniform I wore in Australia.
Wow.
For a state school. So it's so similar to here. I keep walking past these children being like, that is my school uniform. So weird. Katie, if he's in year 7, it's probably the same year 7 maybe in South Australia, because we have the same reception: year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, 6, and then on to year 7 in high school. We don't do SATs. We do something called NAPLAN. So NAPLAN results are on the My School website. So if you see that word NAPLAN on the My School website, you know that you're looking kind of at the SATs results. That might give you a good indication of how good the schools are. They're certainly not as intense in Australia in terms of pressure for the kids to perform as they are here. I saw a lot of children crying over here about the SATs and the pressure and the anxiety, but back home in Oz, the kids were like indifferent about doing the NAPLAN.
I think the teachers cry just as much too.
Probably.
My partner's a teacher, and she's always upset. When
Oh,
Ofsted come
yeah.
over, like.
Oh my God. Teachers get stripped of their teaching license because they skew the results because there's so much pressure.
They just cram them in.
Yeah, they do. A good question here about dyslexia and processing issues. So when you're applying to a school, when you're doing inquiries, you know where you're going. I'm going to Melbourne. I'm going to North Melbourne. Oh, I've got this school here. It's Bundoora College. I'm send the email over to the info what they have on their listed on their website, and just put it out there. Look, my child's coming over. We're aiming for this month. What year do you think he'll be in? And what can you offer any support with dyslexia and processing issues? And I'm sure what they'll say is that he'd probably need to get assessed when he lands to get additional support. From being a teacher though, you're very much aware of students in your class who have special needs, and it's a requirement of teachers too to make sure they cater to those special needs. So just be upfront, tell the school about it, and let's see how they're going to adapt to it. The best time to bring a child over. I think in any case they're going to have to repeat a few months. So aim for them to really start the school year in January. So that's day one, first day of school, term one, and then they're on par with the other kids with as you know being new and being in a new classroom and seeing a new teacher. So I guess aim for the January, the term one start, end of January. It's not really at the start. I think that's the best time. How much notice to give schools? It can be usually a few months before the academic year starts. I think usually August. Some schools, my mum actually was talking to my mum about when she would apply for places for us as kids. She said some schools do it, you know, like 8 months in advance, you know, really oversubscribed, maybe independent schools. So, you know, always look at the school website and just maybe keep it bookmarked. Look at it occasionally. Maybe send an email over to the school in the schools in the local area and to say, look, when are you recruiting for children? And you know, I want to put an application in. I don't want to miss out. Very good idea to bring test results. Very good idea to bring reports. Vaccinations are mandatory in a lot of schools, so you need to make sure you've got those kind of information for the schools. I've heard that they are denying children who aren't vaccinated at the moment, certainly some areas. In terms of Oz history, you don't really, I mean, we've only got like 200 years of the settlement or 300, or, you know, a bit more than that maybe, but then the Aboriginal history, you'd definitely be able to pick it up like that. It's really interesting. It's really amazing, but certainly moving over here and teaching primary, I was a supply teacher for a while. I feel like the history here is a lot more intricate and a lot more to learn, a lot more names to learn, a lot more kings, a lot more queens. But in Oz, you know, we've only been a settlement for a certain amount of years, X amount of years, not that very long. And then the Aboriginal history obviously expands like thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, but it's quite easy to pick up. Very interesting.
Just a question from Natasha. What are the fees? Is it per term?
So basically, so with fees, if it's an independent school, it can be term by term, and they'll be listed on the website. Low fee paying independent schools, they're not overly expensive. So, you know, it could be a couple of $1,000 Aussie dollars a year for children to attend an independent school. For state schools, the other side of the spectrum, they're very low, and they're often just a recommendation. So, you know, the uniform, library fees, maybe the art supplies, very low. And if you are a certain income, lower than a certain income threshold, if you're a single parent, you're often exempt. You have to pay them, but you get the rebate. So you get the money back. It's very low. With independent schools all listed on their website, and some of them are quite low fee paying, so it's not excessive to send your child to an independent school. Cool. So yeah, so Emily's just said that June, an independent school in Queensland has said in June is when they're starting applications. So you can see a lot of schools do it in the middle of the year. Yeah. Are schools children educated about spiders, snakes? Yes, at the school I worked at, we used to get an announcement over on hot days to say stay out of these parts of the school.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
Wow.
yeah, because, you know, as I mentioned before, they're huge. The school campuses can sometimes be colleges, which is a primary school and a secondary together. So they're huge. They're like got loads of ground. So we had a lot of bush, and it was like, and I was in Melbourne. I was in Melbourne Airport, so I wasn't too far in the sticks. I was like, please stay out of the grass today. It's 30 degrees. Yeah. So you know that, you know, and also I had first aid training on how to do tourniquets. But look, it's not a big deal. Snakes and spiders are not a big
I
deal.
think like
Yeah.
about 2-3 kids a week go missing.
No,
Is that
they
the-
don't.
is
That's
that
such a
the
lie.
right, thing?
No. It's nothing to really worry about. But yeah, the staff get trained. I got trained on tourniquets, as I was saying, and anaphylaxis.
What's
Like
a tourniquet?
tourniquet,
I have no idea. What
it's when you get a piece of elastic or rope or anything you can get, or even a jumper, and you just tie it around a leg that has a snake bite. Yeah.
tourniquet.
Yeah, it's not definitely not common. I would say you would pay higher fees if you're on a student visa.
If you're on a
Yeah.
student visa, guys, you've got to pay school fees.
Yeah.
If you're on a permanent visa, then you go to state schools and everything like that. Then they ask for anything. It's just like Mo said, it's just going to be low. But most state schools, they're government funded.
Yeah.
Don't pay taxes.
Yeah. And we do, Gary, we do sing the national
Drop bears.
anthem.
I love it.
We sing the national anthem usually once a week at school, so the kids will learn the anthem. Charles, I do think that independent schools are good because I worked at one, and as I said, we had a great budget for our department, our music department, and from
It worked.
yeah, I can play the guitar and sing Happy Birthday to myself. But the resources were great, so we had iPads for every kid. The kids. It was really great. But I mean, I grew up in the state system and I turned out all right, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, yeah. So, and we had a great music program at my state school, McLeod College in Victoria.
McLeod?
Great. Yeah. You know McLeod? Near Rosanna, near Greensboro.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it's
Yeah.
McLeod.
We had a great
Yeah.
music program, so I thrived in that school, and it was a state school. It's totally fine. You can. I think it's like a 20%. There's 20% independent schools in Oz and the rest of the state, but definitely just stalk their websites. If you know where you're going, you're going to Sydney, just look at all the state school websites. Go on My School, that website I mentioned, to look at NAPLAN results. Look on if there's any community sort of websites, you can sort of talk to other people in the area about what school they recommend. Join Palms Wanting Oz to get an idea about where migrants have moved over already are putting their children into schools and what advice they have. Jay definitely used computers a lot. My kids had iPads, and we had a full music room with Apple iMacs. I think bullying, there's a definite policy with bullying at schools. And I don't know if it's better or worse, but they definitely have a focus on it. And now
Yeah, it's
staff,
huge at the moment.
yeah.
It's like a social media. Who asks that? Kirk.
Mm.
Kirk, how are you, mate?
Yeah.
It's all over. Like I'm on Facebook, and you got like Channel 9. Did you know, guys? It's as boring as this sounds, but sometimes I think I follow like Channel 9 News on Facebook, and that's like our Channel 4 sort of over here, and they'll bring up to date things. So when something happens and when something goes on, but it's sort of Australia is a lot like the UK. It's not. Like they're both wonderful countries with good schooling systems, good health systems. They've still got the odd, I was going to say, a dickhead, I guess, that runs around and does things that are a bit not right. But bullying at the moment is in the workplace and especially at schools. It's something that's definitely been looked into.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we as teachers, we definitely have regular CPD. It's mandatory to do 20 hours of CPD a year, and a lot of the training is on bullying, first aid, and things like that. Rachel, I think she will start school the following January. So I think she'll be 4, and then in November of the same year she'll turn 5. I was 4 when I started school and I turned 4 in April. So I think that's right. But I mean, always just ask the school. But that's what I think from
And
what
it
I know.
changes from state to state too, guys.
Yeah, every state's a little bit different. Definitely have before and after school clubs. I was a regular member of after school club, always having the Vegemite on crackers before everybody else. So yeah, they definitely have those kinds of services, not a problem at all. And Emily's recommending Palms Wanting Oz, and I think that's a really good Facebook group to join because Palms in Oz, sorry, because that can connect you to other parents out there. Would I recommend applying to a school before the move? If it really feels right and you're communicating directly with someone from the school and getting the all the advice and ticking all the boxes, then I think that's a good idea. If not, if it doesn't feel right, just have a look on the ground.
Just going back to something, Lee, you're like the same as me. When I go, my son turns 3 on Tuesday, which is my oldest boy, the legend Jet, turns 3. When we go back to Oz, we're actually going to take him to Melbourne, and because he's an April baby, he's going to start. We've got an option between 5 or 6.
Oh, really? You have an option?
We have an option because he's April. There's a he's on that borderline,
yeah, the cusp,
so he can start early or start late. So
Yeah.
it just sort of depends on how he develops. And his mum's a primary school teacher, so it'll just be up to that. But his older brothers, it's just all this sort of stuff that everyone thinks about. And Yeah, I'm doing this at the moment. Like, his little brother Jax is 15 months between him. So ideally, with like one in, grade 1, one in grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, etc., to make him closer. So at sports days and when you're playing sport in Australia, you do sort of things like from under 8s to under 10s to under 12s to under 14s. So as a parent, I can watch both my kids play in the same sporting thing rather than sending mum to watch this one and, taking it in turns. So you do all that, and then by doing them in the sport things, you want them to be playing. This is my opinion on it, is that by putting them in the sport with the two boys, then to have them in the same school and their mates all together, having a year apart isn't as bad.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. I reckon, Lee, to contact a local school in your area to suss out what age your daughter will be when she starts, because it'd just be different. I started when I was 4, definitely, and I turned 5 within like 2 months of the year starting, so it wasn't a big deal.
Because you're an April baby.
Because I'm April,
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
So you started a year earlier.
Yeah, I finished school at 17.
I was going to say,
yeah.
so at school you'd be the youngest person in,
I was the
in
youngest.
your year.
It was horrible. No, it wasn't too bad. It just meant I didn't have my driver's license in my last year of school. And when I started uni, I didn't even have my driver's license because I was still 17 when I started uni.
Yeah. Guys, just so you know, on the Employment Hub, there's a whole section on schooling there. And what Mo actually created this for us, by memory, I think you did it.
Did I?
Yep. You gave us all the links to all the states and everything like that for the education and wrote it up. So all that information is on the Employment Hub. So if you're in the Employment Hub, going to like schools in Australia, and then you'll have the links and everything. It's a bit like registrations. Everyone's going to be different. It's not one school is exactly the same for each school. Some want you to go a bit earlier, do all of that. Obviously work out where you're migrating to, find an area. Once you find the area, then work out what schools, and it's choice. It's either jobs or schools, depending on what you do. For if you're a nurse and you've got to work in a hospital, you want to find living distance so you can get to the hospital, but also you can set it up, and it's the hardest part of moving.
Yeah.
It really is, guys. The skills assessment sucks. The English test isn't great. Paying the government fees is never good. And then you go to the end, and then you go, hang on, where are we going to live? How are we going to do this? We need a job.
Yeah.
How do we create that new lifestyle? And so many people take it for granted.
Yeah, but I mean, if Oz is your ultimate goal, I mean, that process, that journey to get there might really suck, but the benefits will outweigh that horrible sort of visa processing, that confusion, that clunky period where not quite sure if everything's settled yet. It's definitely, and the thing is, the information is out there, so it's great to come meet us face to face. We're migrants too. Obviously, we've made the journey from Australia to here. We know what it's like to be a fish out of water. So, yeah.
Special mention to young Jess. We've never had a kid watching this.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Donna's got
wow.
young Jess.
Jess. Hi, Jess.
Hey, Jess, don't stress. Aussies, Australia is awesome.
It is so good, Jess. And school is so much fun because you get like big football grounds. It's huge. You get to be outside. I used to teach my clarinet lessons outside because the weather was so nice. It's beautiful, and you get to play outside and be in the sunshine. And I think you really love it, Jess. Make sure you start watching some Aussie TV shows before you fly over to get you in the Australian mood.
How old's Jess?
Oh, and another one is watching is 12.
Abigail's that's
Oh,
awesome.
Abigail. Oh, high school is so great. I miss my high school days so much in Australia. It's so laid back. Less stress in
Just,
school.
I think I cursed before. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, she's 11. All right, cool. That's awesome.
You'll be the coolest person in school because you have a cool accent. Yeah, watch Home and Away and Neighbours, definitely. It gives you a good idea of sort of what the outdoor lifestyle is. I went to you can go to Ramsay Street too when you're in Melbourne. I went there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Yeah, cool.
Ricky.
And also in school.
I bet she does.
So if you're in Queensland, you get to do awesome subjects like, surfing and marine biology. In Melbourne, I did sculpture when I was in school, woodwork, metalwork. Yeah.
Sorry, just a private joke here. So, Donna, did you actually get on Love Island? You know what I mean. Sorry, guys. Private joke from one of our clients.
Oh, that's awesome, Donna. I think she'll love it. The beaches in everywhere in Oz are so fantastic. I think schools will.
Sorry, guys. Donna put on Facebook that she just got accepted to Love Island, and it was April Fool's. And I looked at, she's like, "Hey, everybody!" I thought I'd say she's married and all that, and she put it on there. I thought that's quite clever to actually say that you've been
That's really
accepted
good.
to Love Island.
I like that.
Well
Jake.
played.
Yeah.
Well played. All right, guys. What we might do is, it's been awesome tonight.
It's been a good one.
I just want to mention a couple of things that are coming up. Firstly, it's I can't believe how much you love school for starters. You started a year early.
Oh yeah.
You then stayed after school to eat your Vegemite sandwiches.
At after school care, yeah.
Then you did after school care. And then you started teaching and everything like that. Then you went to a school, and now you migrate people to do it. So you can't get I don't know. You can't get better than that. So, so thank you for enlightening us. And guys, if you think this is something that you want us to talk about, a topic like this, just let us know, because we're here to serve at the end of the day. What I will mention, I'm not sure if I actually have a I don't think I do.
I think you had a flyer. You mean for the seminar?
Yeah, I'll put the seminar on. Why not? Guys, maybe to come to it, what I did want to say, guys who are with the Employment Hub, we've got some good news coming from that. We've actually got a full-time staff member starting in May. Okay, they're actually their families on this webinar tonight. Okay, we've actually got two guys, but one guy's starting in May. We're actually going to give you, everyone who's with the DEC Employment Hub, once you get to the expression of interest stage and you've lodged a visa, you're actually going to get a free 45-minute consultation with a family that's previously migrated, just to run through this, answer questions, and obviously to run through how the DEC Employment Hub works. So, Michael, when you asked before about jobs in WA, you've got Michael, who's coming down to meet us as well. He's based in Western Australia. He'll be hitting up a few other companies, and so will we. So it's really exciting times ahead for the generation now, Mo, that are doing their skills assessment and are about to put things in. I reckon with Tristan coming on board, then it's really going to grow this division with the employment.
Yeah. Sure.
So stay tuned for that. I think next month we'll talk a little bit more about that and how that's going to work. But we might have to call it a night, because you've probably got wine to drink, and turning 21, Mo. It's you're probably late for your own party.
Yeah, fantastic. No, I think it might be bedtime.
So, all right, guys.
That's not it.
Wait for.
Where am I? Yeah, email me if you have any more questions about schooling. Totally happy to help. And if you're a teacher too, looking for work in Oz, totally free service, and we'd love to help.
Yeah, and if you want to watch Donna on Love Island, just please tune into the next series and see how you go. But guys, it's been a pleasure tonight, Mo. You always make it so much funner.
Thank you, Wes.
You always do.
So much funner.
No, I'm looking forward to retiring from webinars.
Oh, we should do a kids webinar. I think that'd be a great idea.
Probably
I'd
not.
love to
I
do one.
probably am the right host for that.
I'll totally do it.
Mo can. We'll organise a kids webinar if you want. That's actually quite a good idea.
Yeah. Ask questions about.
That's actually a great.
Yeah.
Who suggested that?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Donna.
Yeah.
It's on. We will organise a
Yeah.
kids webinar, and we'll make it at a kids time. What guys? If we did a kids webinar, you know what? If you guys can email Mo or myself, the time that you believe would be fine. Earlier the better for us. So, yeah. And what you'd like us to talk to the kids about.
Yeah, ask your little one. What's a couple of points, a couple of burning questions they have. Email them over to us, and we have some talking topics. And then we can totally get a webinar going, and they can listen, and maybe the parents can type questions.
Maybe we could start a webinar at 6.
Yeah, I could do that.
And then the following one starts at 7.
Yeah. Yeah, like the adult one can start at 7.
Yeah, adults only.
Yeah.
We'll have to put like a rated PG, whatever.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be PG, it'd be the other one. Yeah, but that'd be really good. Okay, so guys, we only can do that if we get support from you. So yeah, please email us across what you want us to talk about, what we want to do, and me and Mo will get
Yeah,
together.
we can organise it. Yeah,
Think
for
about this.
sure. Great idea.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I wish you well, and we look forward to seeing you guys. If you can make the event on the 27th, big shout out to Michael, Will, Alex, Talia, Michael. I said Michael already, and a big shout out to Mo for making it awesome.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining in.
Cool. All right, we'll leave the chat room open for a little bit, and we'll catch you soon.
Bye.
See you later.